Hello and thank you for joining me once again. I'm Sophie from Sophie's Flower Company and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Christmas wreath in the traditional fashion using dried fruits and other natural elements. Okay, let's get started. So first off, I've given myself a little bit of a head start here. I've got a copper frame under here. It's a 12-inch copper frame. Now you can buy these, they're quite widely available around about Christmas time, often in places like Hobbycraft or Wilkinson's might even do them as well. And I've got some real wire and we've bound some sphagnum moss around. So I'm just going to show you how we're doing that. So you can see that I'm wrapping this around here. I'm fluffing it up like this. And then I'm stuffing it together. We call that fluff and stuff. And then we bind it tightly to the copper frame. So when we've completed that, taking the real wire around, moving it along 1 inch to make sure that that's lovely and secure. We're going to leave this at the top, but I'm just going to loop it back through like I would if I was catching a stitch and I was sewing. Okay, good. So there we are. So now that we've added our moss, you'll see that it's dry. What I'll do at the end of this demonstration is I will soak it to make sure this is lovely and moist and keeps everything nice and fresh. Your wreath should really last about 3 weeks, providing that you keep it watered. So let's just get tidied up a little bit. Okay, so first of all we're going to add the foliage. I've opted for little bunches of centred foliage. Foliage I'm going to be using, I've got rosemary, I've got eucalyptus, I've got pistache, and I've got some red skimmia. So, taking small amounts here, here's some that we prepped earlier. I'm making little bunches, so little bunches of mixed foliage like this, and I'm going to lay it on at the top, and I'm going to bring the real wire down and round the bottom inch of the stems like this, down and round bottom inch. Then I'm going to take my next little bunch and I'm going to lay that over the top of the mechanics. Over the top of the mechanics here, I'm going to lay that across there like this to cover the mechanics, taking it further out. And I'm going to do that all the way around. I'll show you once more. So we've got a little bundle. Mixed foliage. Add a little bit of colour in with the skimmia. A bit of rosemary for scent. So of course you can use holly. I'm not using holly on this occasion simply because it's really prickly and I wasn't prepared to go through the pain of doing it for this demonstration. Of course you can use seeded ivy. Seeded ivy is widely available in all hedgerows and it's free. And you must always ask the landowner's permission though if you are going to go foraging. But it does last a really long time. Okay, great. So you can see I've done another one round there. I'm going to complete all of this and I'm going to come straight back to you. So as we approach the end of adding the foliage, when you get to this bit, you need to lift up your first bit, tuck your last bit right underneath and take that real wire round. Okay. So now we've got all of our foliage on, looking lovely and lush. We can start adding the interesting bits. So I'm just going to loop that through like I did with the moss and pull it tight. I'm going to leave probably about 12 inches on there. The reason being is that this can then become a bit of a hook later on. I'm going to twist it around like that. That's going to be the top of my wreath. The roof has got a little bit of a gap, so you can always cover that with a ribbon. So the bits that I've got here then, so I've got pine cones, I've got whole oranges, they smell beautiful. I've got chili peppers, not really edible, so I wouldn't bother. I've got apple slices, everything's really scented. These are really traditional ingredients for wreath making. We've also got some feathers, I've got some dried grasses. We've seen a big upsurge in dried materials coming through, grass-wise dried flowers this year, very on trend. We've got some hydrangea as well. So I'm just going to go through and show you how to wire these items. First off, I like to lay out a bit of a pattern. You can do what's called grouping, where you take 1 or 2 or 3 of an item, pop them together, like this, and that would be a nice item. Or you can pop them on individually, like that, I think. Yeah, I think I might go individually. Working in odd numbers, never working in evens on wreaths, simply because they are circular. And if I was to just add 4 slices of orange, it would create quite a square effect, so I'm going to be doing 5, which continues the circular theme. I'm going to match that with a little bit of apple and some chili peppers. And then I'm just going to pop on the odd pine cone. So in my mind, I've got an idea of the design that I'm going to go for. Okay, so next up we're going to wire things. So, wiring oranges or apple slices. I'm going to put a couple of these together. 2 of those, maybe 1 orange. I'm going to take one of my wires. I've got my stub wires here. I've got heavier, thicker stub wires. They would be better for pine cones. Thinner, more flexible wires are better for the lightweight slices. So I'm literally going to pierce through just above the rind, catching the 3 of them, like that. I'm going to take it down like this, 1 inch, and twist it. So all 3 are secured onto one. Now I'm going to place it on my wreath. I'm going to take the end of the wire, find the moss with my thumbnail and guide that wire through. Then on the back, I'm going to take this wire and fold it back on itself so that it's not going to be at the back and it's not going to scratch your door. Next up, I'm going to pop on some chilies. I think I'm going to do them in 3s, yeah, like that. Again, I'm going to use a similar technique. I'm going to pierce them all the way through. I'm going to take that down, I'm going to twist so they're all secured together, and then I'm going to pop them in. So I'm going to make a nice grouping here. I might go asymmetrical on this design, which means that the area of interest, as opposed to going all round like I was planning on doing, I think I'm going to group everything on one side. So next up, we've got these bad boys. These are really difficult to wire. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to give it a go. So I tend to try and find a nice heavyweight wire, and I'm going to try and pierce directly through and out the other side. Ha, made that look really easy. It's not. That was sheer fluke. So now I've got that. I've twisted it down again at the bottom. I can pierce it through the wreath. Now that one's really long here, so I'm going to use my scissors to chop it in half, but then again taking that sharp edge and tucking it into the back of the wreath. Okay, so now I'm just going to add a few more bits. I've got pine cone here. This is how I'm going to wire the pine cone, okay? But I'm going to go for a nice big juicy one. These teeth, as we like to call them here, we're going to push the wire down as close as you can to the bottom of the teeth. Run it round the side like that, and then twist and pinch. Okay, so that's really nice and solid. You see, because it's a bigger item, I've opted for the thicker wire. Pop that through. Good stuff. Right, next up I've got some of these beautiful little dried grasses. I'm going to do them in bunches of 3s, I think. I'm going to use a lighter weight wire again for these because they're delicate. taking that down to extend the stem down, and then pop them. There we go. So the beauty of having everything wide is you can manipulate them to face different directions. So if I want that to stand a little bit more proud, I will do. Okay, now I'm just going to add a few more bits. Okay, now I've added all of our ingredients. We've got chili peppers, we've got the dried grass, the pine cones, the oranges. I'm going to add my ribbon. So this is this here where it's sort of lacking a bit of life, shall we say. We're going to pop the ribbon there. So now I'm going to add my ribbon. So here I've got a really gorgeous, vibrant, bright red velvet. I'm going to cover over this bit at the top here with that. I've still got my wire here. Now I tend to leave the wire on because I do find that you can help secure it to your front door with that and then cover over with your ribbon, and that way your ribbon holds its shape a little better. I'm just going to tie it in a knot. And there we have our natural Christmas wreath.